Are you ready to dive deep into the 2001 King of the Ring?
Why not?
All right. King of the Ring in 2001 took place on June 24th, 2001. It is the ninth
Sunday.
annual. Was that?
It was a Sunday.
It was a Sunday. Confirmed. It was the ninth annual King of the Ring pay-per-view. Unfortunately, it was the next to last King of the Ring pay-per-view for many, many years. Until, or I guess pay-per-view back then, but until I believe King and Queen of the Ring counts as part of the lineage of King of the Ring now. At least it did on Wikipedia. I don't know how WWE looks at it.
I believe on Peacock as well.
On Peacock too. So
I believe, yeah.
This would have been the first.
I don't know if King and Queen, the title being King and Queen,
but it's the same function.
It's
same function, right?
Like 2002 is the last one that you really see when they, you go to it, and then obviously this one.
Right,
because the other ones were just like tournaments.
Right, they just had like crowned champions on Raw. Remember, was it 2015 when they had Wade Barrett? I think they had like a WWE Network special. It wasn't even like on television. And then they've done King of the Ring in the recent years, but again, it was on television. It wasn't even. I think they did Crown Jewel. It was like King of the Ring final with like Xavier Woods when he won it. 2022, something like that. So, yeah. Not an official King of the Ring or now King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view since 2002 until 2024. This particular show in 2001 took place at the Continental Airlines Arena, also traditionally known as the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This building is no longer in operation, but it housed many major shows in wrestling like over the years. This of course is in North Jersey. So outside of Madison Square Garden, which was, for years, really the only major arena in New York before the Barclays Center, if you didn't get to Madison Square Garden, Meadowlands Arena was the next best thing. And it was that way since it opened in 1981. When it closed, it was the Izod Center in 2015. But even by that point, it wasn't even being used. And to this day, the building is still standing and it's still not being used. Like I was out there recently for the the Stadium Series game between the Flyers and the Devils on a very, very cold night in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I was at MetLife Stadium, but in that same area is the building, the corpse known as the Meadowlands Arena. It's like a zombie building just hanging out in the Meadowlands.
Is the grass being mowed around there? Does it at least look like it can be like hold an event anytime soon?
I didn't get that close up to it, but it's just there. I don't know I don't think they use it for anything, but of course, it is the former home of the New Jersey Nets before they moved to Brooklyn, and the New Jersey Devils, who also don't play there anymore. They play at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Seton Hall used to play there, basketball, and of course, because I'm the Arena football fan, so did the New Jersey Red Dogs of the Arena Football League. But as far as wrestling events, again, used to get big ones. Hosted a slew of WWF and WCW shows. Saturday Night's Main Event, SummerSlam in 1989 and 1997, No Way Out in 2012, Extreme Rules in 2014. This was one of the buildings that played host to WrestleMania back in 2013. The building was primarily used as for the site for fan access, now known as WWE World. But fan access, as it was known back then, was always in convention centers, but when they moved to 2013 and East Rutherford, I guess they didn't have a nearby convention center that was capable of holding it. So they just did it at the Izod Center, which I thought was a step down. I think the convention centers are much better. Also, I forgot to mention, you talk about big mainstream acts at the Meadowlands Arena, because again, if it wasn't at MSG, this building was the next best thing. You had concerts like Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Rolling Stones, Rush. That's just to name a few. So this was a major building back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. That's just now it's just hanging out there and sitting there.
I've never been in it, so but I do remember being. Weren't they? It was SummerSlam '97. So I remember the Wrestling with Shadows. They were interviewing the people outside or whatever. So that was literally like a year ago when we dove
Yep.
into that. Isn't that crazy?
Check
Like,
it out, the deep
what a
dive
year.
in the archives. Our
Yeah.
Wrestling with Shadows deep dive with
Whew.
Brian Isley on the show. And as part of
Yeah.
Wrestling with Shadows, they interviewed fans in the parking lot outside of the building at Continental Airlines Arena
Yeah. You can see the signage and everything. So that
right
reminded me of that.
before the 1997 SummerSlam, Heart and Soul, and they were interviewing Bret
There
Hart
it is.
fans and Shawn Michaels fans, and people were like, "Well, yeah, maybe Canada does suck," and why he's wearing a Go Canada shirt or something like that. And the people were like, "Who was the one dude that's talking about the magazines that Shawn Michaels was in? And more
Yeah,
men look at that magazine than women."
yeah.
Congrats. Another dude talking about Plymouth Rock landing on us or something like that. There was a lot of craziness going on and then Wrestling with Shadows. So go check that out in the archives.
And that's when WWF never really aired stuff like that. They didn't do the like there were some, like when they went to UK for SummerSlam 92, they aired, the fan interviews in the beginning of the show, but that wasn't commonplace for them. So seeing it on Wrestling with Shadows rather than WWE TV at the time was just funny. And they tried to give away $1 million that at SummerSlam 97 and nobody won. So it's a shame.
Damn.
It
Tragic.
was such a convoluted way, like your chance at $1 million, and you had to like select a key, and then Sonny or Sable tried to open it in the casket, which was full of money, and none of the keys worked. It's like, what the hell is going
So they
on?
just didn't want to give away the money. Just say that.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Into these sweepstakes for money we don't want to give you.
Todd Pettingill's one of his last appearances too.
Oh wow.
So
look at that. Well,
that building was like the biggest thing. Todd Pettingill's last appearance.
Yeah, that
yeah.
SummerSlam 97.
Well, he might have done more because he was based in New York, but
maybe. And the New Jersey Nets and Devils. The Devils won like multiple Stanley Cups in that building. And the Nets went to like multiple. I'm not a huge fan of it either, but it happened. And the Nets went to multiple NBA Finals while playing in New Jersey.
How many they win? 0, right?
No, they haven't won any titles. But I remember watching them back in the early 2000s because the Nets were good back then. They were, and I remember the Sixers went to the finals and 01. So obviously, a lot of people. I was a Sixers fan beforehand, but 2001 Finals was like that was a time when people became diehard Sixers fans. It's people of my generation. Obviously, there's a prior generation that watched Dr. J, Mo Cheeks, and Moses Malone. But for people my age, when I was growing up, the Sixers stunk. So Iverson coming through with the shoe, with the swag, and then they went to the finals. But then right after that, the Nets went to, I think, back-to-back conference, won the conference back-to-back years. They didn't win in the finals, but I remember there was a lot of big playoff games from the Continental Airlines Arena. So that's what I remember watching Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson and Kenyon Martin. They were a fun team to watch until they got to the finals and Keith Van Horn would get
the Lakers,
brakes beat off him by Shaq.
The Spurs, right? Spurs beat them and the Lakers.
Spurs and the Lakers. It was Lakers first and then Spurs. And that Spurs Nets series was real boring because it was real low scoring.
Feels like that's what it is like now, with the not only the NBA finals with the Celtics and Mavericks, but the Stanley Cup finals.
Right.
It's just like, give me a series, man.
Both 3-0.
Yeah.
Jeez, come on. Edmonton and Dallas. For one, Edmonton got all of Canada on their back. They haven't won a Stanley Cup since 93 or something like that. Come on, Oilers. Come on, Edmonton. The Elks are bad enough. We need the Oilers to win something. Let's say the Elks. That's the CFL team. They're not doing so good right now. But
bummer.
Come on, Oilers. Got the best player in hockey. But back to King of the Ring in 2001. It is 2001, which means we have a sudden influx of WCW and ECW talent onto WWF's roster. And they're making a big deal of it, especially about Madison Square Garden. Oh, no WCW wrestlers.
Oh my God, that was weird. I totally forgot that happened.
Which was like, I remember that being a big deal back in the day. And now in hindsight, it's like, who cares? Like, why was that ever a big deal? Who cares about that? But that's where we were back in 2001. But it's only June. So we're not quite at the invasion yet. That'd be next month. But during this show, they did advertise the next pay-per-view, which was not Invasion. Not yet. It was fully loaded. It was still fully loaded as of this show. So Invasion was a last-minute decision, apparently, even after they promoted the pay-per-view, which is interesting. but it was a lucrative one. It was that show did get a ton of buys, even though the angles around it was garbage. I think people just like, ooh, this is a big deal. The inaugural brawl, and nobody cared after that. But what we do have right now in 2001 in June is a heel Steve Austin. He's the top heel in WWF at the moment as a paranoid, desperate WWF champion, looking for his best friend Vince McMahon throughout the show, who did not show up on this show at all. I don't think Vince McMahon appeared at all on the show, did he?
He didn't. I was expecting him to come out in the main event because
Same.
it's been years since I watched this show, and I was surprised. It kind of went off the air. No histrionics.
No
Like,
Vince. Wow. But because it's June and because it's 2001, that also means we have Stalker DDP, which is one of the worst creative decisions WWF has ever made. And we'll talk about it on this deep dive. We also get 3 Kurt Angle matches on this show. Homeboy was working real hard. Homeboy was also working with a concussion for 2 of those 3 matches. Well, I guess parts of the third one too. The first one, he suffered the match. He suffered a concussion in the first match and wrestled 2 more matches, including a street fight with Shane McMahon, who is not the safest worker in the world. Probably he's not not like an experienced guy, but somehow Kurt Angle didn't die during this day.
I mean, he came close. It seemed like,
but he
did break his tailbone too in the match with Shane. So not great.
I do know he was concussed. And it was in his match against Christian, and he said that I listened to his podcast, Kurt Angle's podcast, about this night, and he said that Christian had to help him through the first match, which is not the first time that's happened to Kurt Angle. Even by 2001, we talked about SummerSlam 2000, just a year prior, when he gets concussed early in the match with Triple H before The Rock even gets to the ring for the triple threat match.
Yeah.
He hits the floor hard, boom, he's concussed, and they got to help him through the rest of the match. Stephanie McMahon and Triple H are calling spots for Kurt. And here we are again a year later. The same thing has to happen. That's tough. Real dangerous stuff.
And then you're getting Vince's crap for not being able to throw, or for throwing his son through glass twice.
Oh boy.
So he's got to deal with that on top of his physical ailments.
And Shane's head, I'm sure, bouncing off the concrete as well during the failed attempt. But again, Kurt Angle said on this podcast in 2021 that there wasn't even a doctor in WWE yet. They had a trainer, but that trainer was not licensed to test for concussions.
He was chilling and catering.
He was just hanging out. Couldn't test for concussions anyway. So what good was he as far as concussions was concerned? Because even by 2001 standards, Kurt just simply had his bell rung. Probably drove to the next town. Yeah, saw headlights in his face.
Off to MSG. Let's go.
Who knows? Oh yeah, the next night, right? Because WCW wrestler can't show up there. That's like gang territory, apparently. What do you remember about this time as a fan? And one thing I do know you noticed was the ring apron on this night as well.
Yes,
the light gray ring apron.
You noticed the difference. That tells me something that you noticed it as well.
Well, it was such a pop in color, and it's drastic change from like black, which is what they usually had.
Well, but there's no trim. Doesn't it look so much more sleek when there's no black trim around the edges?
And I didn't think about that. It looks
so much better.
Did not think about that. But let me ask you, what do you remember about this time? Because for me at 12, this was not a great time.
I had just ended my sophomore year of high school. I'm assuming, June 24th, I was assuming we were out of school by that point. King of the Ring, always loved it because it was a reminder that school was out and I could stay up late, watch wrestling, and didn't have to worry about, bedtime usually. I mean, I went to bed, in a good time, but I'd stay up till midnight. Not very, I don't know, like the episode of Raw that followed this, not the next night, but a couple weeks later, where ECW made his presence known, and then it was officially like ECW and WCW versus WWF. That's when I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" So at this point, being weeks before that, I didn't care about this WCW that Shane McMahon owned. I didn't care about wasn't there a who was the other guy that showed up that was technically a WCW guy, they said?
Booker T.
I guess, no, the one before that. Was
Oh,
there another one? Or I might be thinking about DDP, but
I gotta look through my notes again. I don't recall.
because they never really, they just said DDP's from WCW, but he wasn't like a WCW guy. He was clearly like WWF. And I remember just not really caring that much about DDP's appearance because of what you said, how his whole character at that point. So yeah, I mean, knowing that, hey, they're going to keep WCW alive, but then them changing the logo, I was not really into this whole thing at this point. June 24th, 2001. I just didn't care. The Steve Austin stuff was kind of funny to me, but it wasn't
Yeah,
98 Austin that I was like super enthralled with. So the product for me was on the downslope from WrestleMania to this point. I just didn't care.
100% agree. I don't think people talk about this enough. It's like we always talk about the invasion angle and how bad that was, but even before the invasion angle, post WrestleMania to the invasion was bad. Also,
It was
the
rough.
2-man power trip wasn't that lit. The whatever Vince was doing wasn't important. Uh, it just didn't have the same vibe and feel. The vibrance was like gone, and I think the lack of competition immediately hurt the product because they just like, okay, now what? And now they didn't have the
They're kind of
urgency
like
that they had
trying
before.
different things just because they could. They weren't worried
Right.
about ratings anymore.
And
It's like,
that's my
you don't
point.
have
They
to
didn't
do that.
have the urgency wasn't there because Nitro, you weren't not competing with Nitro on a weekly basis or Thunder or any other show. It's just you. So now that they have more room to experiment, which I understand you want to experiment, try different things, but the experiments failed. They felt like they had more backstage segments, more talking segments, and it happened on this show on pay-per-view. There's a lot of backstage stuff, a lot of backstage talking, and Steve Austin looking for Vince and all that kind of weird stuff that just didn't help the product. It just didn't feel like it was lit at all. And this was just 2 months after the biggest WrestleMania to date. It's really weird how fast the tone shifted after WrestleMania. Obviously, you have Steve Austin turning heel. That's a major shift in itself. But the rest of the product also felt like it shifted. It just felt like there was just a lack of juice with the product. And then it didn't help that The Rock was gone. And then double whammy, your top babyface is also now a heel. So it's just like, what are we doing? Like it just
Triple H tore his quad, so like he wasn't.
That didn't help.
There.
And eventually, we don't want to like big up Benoit, but losing Benoit at the time was a big deal. Like and also it doesn't help that the invasion was bad after this too. So just 2001 was a real rough year, and they clearly didn't adjust to the new landscape very quickly and in a timely fashion. It took till 2002 for them to finally sort of get some footing, and I think they got back on track probably more so in even 03. But like, man, 2001 was a rough year post WrestleMania, and we'll see some of that on this show as we go along. But yeah, it was not a fun time for 12-year-old Vaughn watching WWF and then having nowhere else to go as far as a wrestling product in 2001.
It wasn't even like you can have a counterpart like Goldberg in the other company because he wasn't even there. Nash, Hall, Hogan were sitting at home. You had no premier WCW presence there until really Booker T came along. But that obviously was just kind of there,
Yeah. If they had those big names come in right away, maybe things would have been different, but they didn't because they just let your contracts lapse. More power to them. I don't blame them for making the decision they did. They probably took full advantage of the time off. Free time off, not free, like paid time off. Cool, I'll do that. But yeah, it was just a rough time, just a real rough time. And you got to remember, this is also 2000. Again, this is 2001, so we're pre Ring of Honor, we're pre TNA. Those two promotions aren't starting until 2002, so it's just a wasteland outside of WWF at this point from a television wrestling standpoint. I'm sure there's other promotions out there still running independent shows, but from a major promotion standpoint in the States, sheesh.
I mean, I just assumed as a kid back then, they're just going to take everyone from WCW and it'll be fine, whatever, not realizing the ramifications of you only have so much TV time, and you're going to add a whole other roster. Like that just isn't going to happen. Obviously, Vince fired Jeff Jarrett on air or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's a personal gripe, whatever. But there's literally like wrestlers that just never went to WWF, and not realizing that was going to be the thing that kind of hurts them. And me thinking, oh, DDP's there, it'll be fine. You get Booker T going, Rob Van Dam coming in, and Tommy Dreamer seemed like a surprise to me, back in July, and it became just too much, like too much of a bloated roster that not even an invasion storyline could fix, because it wasn't the top guys that people wanted to see. You had maybe a handful. So
yeah, and that's through no fault of really WWF's own. I mean, they can't control the contracts that these guys had signed years prior with a different company.
I'm sure they tried to get them to come. They were like, maybe they offered to pay them more, but I would have maybe not, because obviously they probably would have came if that were the case. But you still had to wait till February 2002 for anyone of note of main event status that was there, that people recognized WCW. At that point, Hogan, Nash, and Hall were WCW. They weren't former WWF guys. They were synonymous with WCW, and it took them that long. I mean, it's just not going to get the juices going.
And I guess WWF, maybe, I don't know the legalities, but I'm assuming, I would just say, hypothetically speaking, they could have bought out the contracts and offered them new ones, but that's also expensive to buy out these expensive contracts, and then to give them new ones. And then you're looking at your roster like, we got enough talent here. We don't need them. If all right, you want to sit home, go ahead. We got people here that we'll be fine. That's why we're on top of the wrestling world now with with these folks back here. So all right, y'all go home, sit down, and we'll see y'all in a year. We're not gonna buy you out, pay you up front. So we'll be all right. But it did hurt the product, I think, and it doesn't help that Vince McMahon also just spinning his wheels creatively too, and it was obvious again in the show. But before we dig into the show, and again, let me remind you before we get into this patron, is that we have a new format for our deep dives. We're not just doing match by match, kind of walking through the show. We're going to reuse the format from last week that we did for our Judgment Day 2002 deep dive, and that we're going to do match of the night, worst match of the night, top non-wrestling happening, hidden gem, and some random thoughts. So we're going to do that again. But before we get into that, let's get into our patron, Chris Johnson, who is going to make a cameo and give us his thoughts on the 2001 King of the Ring.
What's going on, straight shooters? It's your boy Chris Johnson back again, giving my thoughts on the King of the Ring from 2001. Some of my favorite things were like the match of the night, worst match of the night, the best non-wrestling moments, any random thoughts, things like that. My opinion, the match of the night was Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon street fight. The match was fantastic from start to finish. You had Shane throughout the night, having Angle extend himself, wrestling multiple matches in the King of the Ring tournament, making it to the finals just to tire him out, which was a smart move on his part. Angle hit Shane with a real nice takedown and slam early on in the match. Shane had a nice little leap over the announce table to clothesline Kurt Angle. Shane put on a weird looking ankle lock on Kurt at one point as well. He also missed a shooting star press and ended up hitting the edge of a trash can. Looked like it hurt pretty bad. Let's see, Kurt took the fight outside of the ring, rammed his head into the big chair or throne that was part of the stage. I'll get to that part in a minute. Angle suplexing Shane into the glass. First time it didn't break, then Shane landed on the top of his head. They ended up suplexing him through the plexiglass and then threw him through a lot of crazy spots in this match. Angle won with the Angle slam off of the wooden board off the top rope. I thought this was a fantastic match. One of Shane and Kurt's best matches, actually. Match of the night, in my opinion. The most underrated match of the show, which not really sure how this match would go underrated, but it is because it doesn't really get talked about much in history, is the triple threat match for the WWF title with Stone Cold, Benoit, and Jericho. Turns out Austin got hurt in this match, hurt his back. Benoit ended up breaking his neck in this match. It was out for a year. Austin submitted to the double submission with the Walls of Jericho and the Crippler crossface. Not really sure why R.R. Hebner was counting with all the men down. It was a triple threat match. There's really no countouts in a triple threat. Booker T showing up got a big reaction from the crowd, him slamming Austin through the table. Austin, it looks like he hit the side of his head on one of the chairs when he landed, so that looked pretty painful. The worst match of the night, there wasn't really any bad matches on the show altogether, in my opinion, but the worst one would probably be between the light heavyweight title match and the tag title match, I guess. There wasn't really a whole lot going on in those matches, so I guess they would share the crown for worst match of the night, even though they weren't terrible by any means. The best non-wrestling moment of the match for me was Kurt Angle talking to security backstage after he lost the finals to Edge in the King of the Ring tournament. They were saying if any WCW wrestlers got involved, he was going to make sure they got kicked out of the building and fired and their families would be on welfare. I thought it was pretty funny. A couple random things on the show. I thought the stage was pretty cool, like the big chair in the middle, and you had your true screens on the side. I'm not sure if it was meant to be a throne or it looked like a throne, I guess, for the King of the Ring. I thought it was a pretty cool set. The DDP Undertaker segment was there. I'm not really sure why that story took place. I guess to introduce DDP to the WWF at the time, but it did absolutely nothing for him. And Undertaker's like, all right, cool. I'm just going to beat the crap out of you for a few minutes. DDP's going to land. He literally landed 2 right hands, a low blow, and a chair shot, and that's it. And the King of the Ring semifinals and the final matches were actually pretty good. In my opinion, I don't think there was really a bad match on the show. Nothing really was just put there just to be put there. I think the matches were from, at worst, okay to you had your last 2 matches of the night, which were really, really good. Edge and Angle, the King of the Ring final, was very good as well. All in all, in my opinion, I think this is one of the better King of the Ring pay-per-views of all time. In my opinion. Like I said, top to bottom, pretty good card. Last 2 matches were good. Edge and Angle final was good. Straight cheerleaders, appreciate y'all. Allow me back on the greatest wrestling podcast out in the world. You guys keep doing your thing up in Philly. Hold it down. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Thanks again, Chris, for your patronage. We appreciate it as always. Thanks for showing the love. But despite the love, despite your patronage, I disagree with you on multiple things you said. One of which we're going to get into pretty soon. But yeah, we got some. We don't see eye to eye on this show. Because I can tell you right now, this is not, in my opinion, that good of a show. But we're going to talk about it.
Kind of laid it out as to why we probably think that, but we'll get.
Yeah, we did. We talked about how bad 2001 was. It wasn't like this was like the shiny exception.
We have Chris like, hey, this is great.
And we're like, just like the bad taste in everybody's mouth. Except Chris Johnson's. But yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. And you're welcome to share it here on the Straight Shooters. You can be just like Chris and come on the show and share your opinion. If you just head over to patreon.com/shootersradio, put in your request for a deep dive. We'll dive into it. And just like Chris Johnson did, you can make a cameo on this here show. Again, patreon.com/shootersradio. But let's get into the show. Let's talk about the look of the show, the intro and all that type of stuff. Man, Chris Johnson talked about the chair, the throne. That wasn't a throne. That was an electric chair, which I think is super weird. It's supposed to be the dark take on the throne. And again, this is 2001. We're coming out of the Attitude Era where everything took like a dark tonal shift. So I guess the royalty aspect of King of the Ring was corny or passe by 2001. Let's make it more adult, more gritty. So let's make it an electric chair and use electricity and electric chair sounds throughout the show to reiterate that this is not a throne of royalty. This is a throne of death. Like, does the winner get electrocuted?
Rest in peace, Edge.
Like, what is the deal here? It just didn't work for me because, for one, capital punishment. Why is that the theme? Same thing with Judgment Day last week. It just was weird. It's just bizarre. And then the opening video was, again, super dark. It just, a lot of these dark themes in 2001 and 2002 just didn't make any sense to me.
They used to use the guillotine in like King of the Ring ads. So, which
was also kind of weird, but at least that kind of relates to royalty, and that's how some kings and queens got back in the day. That's also how they doled out punishment. Right. Actual royalty would send people to the gallows, send people to the guillotine. So at least it kind of worked. The electric chair, there wasn't no royalty. Go to the electric chair. Here he. The sign says you get electrocuted. They're like, what's electricity?
They just go to Bret Hart's house, who has, that random decoration they do in the electric chair.
but that's a decoration. This is just weird. It was like someone in WWE finally realized what horror movies were, and they went all in on bringing that type of imagery to the production. And I don't think it
I
works
blame
here.
Kevin Gunn.
And let's blame him. Let's blame him because WWE's product we see now has gotten much better since he left. At least from a production standpoint, and how they shoot things, different camera angles they use, and they don't just use them for a couple weeks and like go away from them. We saw that in the new brand extension in 2016, where they try to differentiate the two shows. They try to introduce some new camera angles, and they got bored with it and they got tired of it and said, "Nope, we're done with it." Where WWE now is kind of sticking to it, which I appreciate. But yeah, that dark theme, I feel it for Judgment Day a little bit more, but for King of the Ring, it just doesn't make any sense to me to make it dark. It's King of the Ring and not King and Queen of the Ring. And they don't do that. They didn't do that this year because it just makes sense not to. Like, why would you make it about death and destruction? Obviously, it's the Attitude Era. It's different. We're not PG, TV 14 or whatever, but it's still just goofy. It's just goofy to me.
Yeah, I didn't. This is one of the ones I didn't pay close attention to the entrance set or anything. I just, they had the ramp and the video walls and kind of their norm back then, but yeah, I don't know how much effort they thought they put in, or if it was a lack thereof on their part. You obviously had the glass that would come into play later on during Shane versus Kurt, but I don't didn't really stand out to me. I guess they tried, but I didn't really care about it one way or the other.
It just didn't make that much sense. Like the big chair as a structure too.
I will say I thought it was a throne too.
Good.
So Chris isn't alone. I did think it was a throne at first. So
I did not think of it as a throne, especially when you got it looks like an electric chair. The whole
but that would make sense. You agree? It would make sense. So we just assume it was, even if it.
But everything they do around it says electric chair. When they do like the match graphics, they have the electricity sounds and they go. So it's like that's clearly in reference to an electric chair, right? Or am I tripping? Maybe I'm misinterpreting. But it just.
I mean, you have valid points. It's not something I thought about. So
I could have bought the throne theme, just a dark throne, dark, dilapidated looking ugly throne that no real king would sit on. Like it looked like it need a tetanus shot once you get up from it. But
like the Game of Thrones throne,
right? Or like it looked like something out of a Saw trap, bro. Like it looked bad. But I could understand it if you go for a gritty vibe. But like then they do like the electricity theme with the match graphics. That's when I was like, okay, this is about capital punishment now. Like,
well, I mean, they didn't even celebrate the king.
No, here you go, Edge, get out of here. He didn't get a Stanley Cup trophy until the next day. So yeah, it was just they clearly stopped caring about King of the Ring, which is why they got rid of King of the Ring. I don't know if King of the Ring was necessarily a bad, like there was some type of diminishing returns. The people stopped caring because as soon as it went away, everybody online was like, "Bring it back, like, bring it back."
It was basically it was basically to me at this point what Survivor Series is to you. I didn't care who won.
But that was WWF's fault. I think that's
right.
WWF's fault for not making you care who won. Now they seem like they try to make people care by putting title shots on the line, which is what they did in 2002, and they said, "Forget it, we're not doing that again." Because Vince would just make decisions based off of like on whims, and just like it's down 1 year, get rid of it. And it's like you need some more evidence to support that. I think. Right. But now they added some stakes to it beyond just being King of the Ring. You need something more than that. And they've added at least this year. Hopefully they continue that next year and move in the subsequent years with King and Queen of the Ring. Keep it around. It's a good way to get people over. Look what it's done. I think it helped Nia Jax. It's going to help Gunther, and you can help other people moving forward once you give them King and Queen of the Ring as well. So yeah, just weird stuff. Just weird stuff going on here in 2001. But let's get to our best match of the night from the 2001 King of the Ring. And I think we're going to agree, because what else is there to talk about from this show that's a really good match besides Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon in the street fight? Nick, is this your match of the night as well?
Yeah, and what the funny part about it is in the opening moments, I was like, wow, this match sucks. Not watching it for years and years and years, and just being like, okay, like I'm going into it almost with a fresh set of eyes. I obviously knew what happened with throwing through the glass and whatever, but there's a lot of things I forgot about this match that make it great. And in the beginning, there's some botches and everything. Kurt bending down so Shane could like start from the amateur wrestling position or whatever. And I was just like, this is lame. Like but it all kind of like it was fine and it made sense as it grew. And then they just kind of threw everything away. I was just like, we're gonna do shit to do shit, and that's part of what makes it great because. Like I forgot that they bled so much. I forgot Kurt got busted open like early, and I forgot about the suplex spot in the aisle where that's where Kurt broke his tailbone, and you could just tell as soon as he landed, like he just kind of rolls over, isn't even selling. He's just like mother f. And you could just tell, and Shane's probably like sorry. He probably said sorry a lot during that match, just because Kurt was going through it, man. He was having a night, man. And
how you get a concussion and a broken tailbone on the same night?
For that match to be as good as it was, I think is a testament to Kurt. And I was just like, I kind of made fun of Shane because it's like Kurt is this Olympic gold medalist and he's making Shane look way too good. But then you kind of come back to realize it's Kurt's third match, so you could tell the story of he's exhausted, so he's not 100%.
But they didn't really tell that story.
Jane's taking advantage of it.
They didn't really tell that story in the match. The announcers didn't really say, "Oh, Kurt's less than 100%. He's dealing with he." They didn't even mention the fact that he got concussed earlier in the night or he's banged up. They didn't say that. They just here he is taking a lot of offense, probably too much offense from Shane at various points.
It definitely felt like way too much. So I think after the first match against Christian, I was like, okay, it makes I didn't know where it was going because this is the first time I watched this show in forever. And I was like, okay, maybe Shane helped Kurt win because he wants him to wrestle more. So by the time they wrestle, he's kind of exhausted. But they didn't really push that. Jim Ross kind of mentioned it casually and kind of forgot about it. I was like, that's what you should be telling.
They didn't really understand the plan neither. So early in the night, of course, you're at the King of the Ring tournament. Kurt Angle is the reigning King of the Ring. So he wants to defend his title in the tournament. So he's in the semifinals. His first match is against Christian. He has a match against Christian. In real life, he gets concussed. So we don't know that as a viewer. But what we do know is that Shane McMahon comes down and interferes on Kurt Angle's behalf, right? And helps Kurt Angle win. So Kurt Angle wins. He advances to the final. So in the fight, obviously, if he lost the match, he only has Shane McMahon left. So Kurt Angle coming into the night had 2 scheduled matches that could be a third. So it's like 2 and a possible, like you playing spades, which I'm not a spades player, but I've heard the verbiage. That's what I've heard. So correct me if I'm wrong, black folks, because I know that's who I'm talking to right now. But 2 and a possible for Kurt Angle. Shane McMahon, in his infinite wisdom, said that if I help him win this first match, he has to have a second match, or he has to add a match onto his schedule. So now he has 3 matches. So in theory, he has one down even more than what he would have by only having 2 matches. We get to the King of the Ring final, and Shane McMahon makes sure that Kurt Angle's in the match, and he screws over Kurt and helps Edge win the King of the Ring. So now Kurt Angle has a third match that now he's pissed about too. So I don't know if that was the smartest thing. Now he just pissed Kurt Angle off. And now he's really mad at you. He's already mad at you. Now he's really, really mad at you. So that's the whole thing. And now we get to this match where, again, they don't mention the fact that Kurt Angle has had 2 matches already. One of which was a pretty good match with Edge, like a lengthy match. The Christian match wasn't that long, but the match with Edge was pretty, a normal match pretty much they would have. Not as good as the match at Judgment Day the next year, but I thought this one was also pretty good. But we get to this match and it's just like Kurt's just out there hanging out, not really selling more than usual. It's just a match.
Yeah, it's true. You don't really see it until I guess the weapons come into play, and then Shane's using those, so it's like wearing Kurt down a little bit. But in the beginning, you wouldn't think that it's Kurt's third match of the night, based off how he looks versus what the announcers are saying. They're just like, oh, well, Shane's going to die here. He
Pretty
almost
much.
did, but not because of the plan, of telling the story. It was botches that caused that one.
Right.
Um, and I just, a lot of blood, way more blood than I remember. Obviously, the glass had a lot to do with that. Kurt's back was
Oh my God.
drenched after he fell in the glass, the
Yeah.
entranceway. Shane was busted open. And this all happened after that suplex in the aisle. So Kurt's doing all this with like a break in his tailbone. And you could just tell he even when he tries to drag Shane and he just falls. He tripped over him one time,
Yeah.
just because Shane kind of moved his legs and Kurt stripped. Like he's clearly going through it,
Yeah.
but he grabbed the trunk and put Shane over top to wheel him back to the ring. I thought that was a nice touch. Don't even know if that was his plan, but there was part of me thinks he was supposed to pick Shane up and carry him himself, and he's probably just like, I can't do this. But luck would have it that spot happens, so maybe it was planned. But a lot of good stuff in here in terms of like close calls. I thought it was hilarious. It's a street fight, but you have to win in the ring.
Yeah.
Like
Not in the streets of East Rutherford, New Jersey.
like, why can't you pin him like in the entranceway?
Because every street fight has to end in a ring. That's how we do it in the streets of Philly. You got to get a wrestling ring.
Right, exactly.
They even got They're going to have
Hopefully
a ring.
they have it in
on,
South Street.
They're going to have a ring on soft ground wrestling in Africa soon, thanks to Cody Rhodes. So all the street fights get handled in the wrestling ring, according to WWF back in 2001.
Yeah, and it became increasingly more exciting just based off the near falls and like. There were a few times where I was like, "Oh, this is where it ends." I totally forgot he did the Olympic slam off the top.
Yeah,
rope,
which was pretty lit.
Thank God they had that board, because if it was just the ropes, I'm not sure that would have happened.
It's not the greatest spot for a guy with a concussion either. The Olympic slam from the top rope, but there's so many dangerous things in this match, including like you mentioned earlier, the spots where Kurt Angle tosses Shane through the glass. So the stage for King of the Ring was, like you said, the big chair structure with like 2 video boards on the side. But underneath the video boards, they had these glass windows that said like KOR, King of the Ring on them. White glass with black text. It said like King of the Ring or KOR, whatever it is. It's like 3 per side. And, I don't know. I guess this is real glass. People was getting cut. So real glass, not, the fake stuff. The real glass that Jack Perry wanted in AEW. Ricochet.
This might be Jack's favorite match.
Right, because real glass. He did not cry a river over it either. So we get the spot where Kurt gets Shane in front of the glass, and he's trying to like over the head suplex Shane through one of the glass pane, I don't know, windows or whatever you want to call it. But as things are wont to do on live television, things go awry, and Shane does not go through the glass. Not only does he not go through the glass, he hits the glass upside down and then slides down and hits the concrete smack on the ground, head back first. Not pretty. Kurt Angle is undeterred, though. He's like, you know what, Shane? I am concussed and my tailbone is broken. If there's one thing that's going to go right in the show, is that you are going through this glass. Okay? There's one thing I'm going to accomplish on this night, besides a stay in the hospital, is you going through this glass. And he picks Shane McMahon up. And for one, Kurt Angle, let's just say Shane landed on top of Kurt Angle too during the misfire, which is also really dangerous. Yeah, because they could have landed head on head there. But Kurt Angle picks him up and tries again, and it didn't work again. So now Shane is falling on the back of his head twice. Mind you, again, Kurt Angle is also concussed already. So eventually Kurt Angle just gets frustrated, and it's like, look, I'm not suplexing you through. I'm just going to toss you through head first. And that's what happened. Shane McMahon goes flying through the glass. And, well, maybe that was the second time when he went back through, I think. So he did get him through over the head, going through the glass the first time. He tries to get him back through the other piece of glass to get him back out of the structure. And that's when
we need that visual. Twice. Kevin Dunn needs that television shot.
Right. We're like inside the stage at this point for the second edition of this, when he tries to suplex him through and it didn't work. And he just said, screw it, and just tossed Shane through head first, which was honestly from the shot they had from the other side of the glass and Shane just bursting through it and flying through it like he was in a car accident. I will admit that was a dope shot. That was a pretty cool shot. Was it worth it? I don't know, but the shot itself was pretty dope.
you notice Mike Chioda, the referee, he was getting very, very angry at Kurt for continuing to try to throw Shane through it. That the time out when the first time it didn't work, they went in and then he was trying to get him out the way you mentioned it and didn't work. And Mike was just fed up and he was like yelling at Kurt and like throwing his hands like
stop throwing the boss's son around like this.
I literally think Mike was pissed. Like, I don't think it was him just playing along. I was like, what the hell are you doing, man? And that, Kurt, maybe he was telling Kurt, just throw him through or something. Because that's when Kurt finally did it, threw him through to come back out. But yeah, Mike Chioda was not having fun at that point, I don't think.
No, it was a rough one. But eventually they get back to the ring. And Kurt Angle hits the angle slam from the top rope. The fans went nuts. Kurt Angle won. That match went 25 minutes. So I was kind of surprised when I was like, I didn't realize how long that match was. I feel like I've seen it twice before back in the day.
Yeah.
Like all the way through. But like 25 minutes for this probably didn't need to be that long. Could have taken out a bunch of Shane's offense, in my opinion. This could have been a lot of Kurt Angle whooping ass for a while until Shane gets like weapons, which he was like punching in Kurt Angle. Just like, why are we doing this with Shane? Mm-hmm. But either way, 25 minutes. It was, despite having issues, still the best match on this particular show by far.
Which is funny. Again, 3-4 minutes into the match, you wouldn't think. You're like, oh, this has a chance to be the worst match of the night because it did not start out good at all. But then you had I thought Shane, when Kurt brought him back to the ring after throwing him through the glass and whatever, and I was like, okay, this is where it ends. Didn't remember Shane kicking out.
Right, they had near falls after that.
Yeah, they did. So the crowd was into it. I kind of got into it. I was like, okay, this match is a pro wrestling match. A good pro wrestling match for sure.
Put Shane over huge. He's kicking out of angle slams and stuff.
Hey, he's the owner of WCW. I mean, you can't bury the owner of WCW.
They buried WCW, so sure they can. They buried WCW the moment they made Shane McMahon the owner. The quote-unquote owner of WCW.
By the way, have you seen Who Killed WCW yet?
I have not. I feel like I've rehashed this Monday Night War WCW story for so many years. I don't know if I needed to take on it.
They finally have different people talking about the same thing at the same time. Goldberg's in there.
Oh,
Bret Hart's in there. So I'm having fun with it. I haven't finished the second episode yet.
Is it actually good though? Have you learned anything new from this?
Not really, but just learned people's opinions about what happened, and everyone seems to. Well, not everyone, but I do think they're painting Eric Bischoff as like not the main cause of it, which you can think what you want, but I haven't finished the second episode yet. I just like Bret talking about how shitty it was, and Goldberg saying like, "Hey, like everyone loved me," and it's kind of funny to me.
I made a lot of money. I don't care.
A lot of it seems to be in character. Kevin Nash being like he's just sitting back, as a matter of fact. So yeah, it's kind of funny. So
even they don't care anymore.
I'm not watching it to gain information. I'm just kind of watching it to be entertained at this point. So I don't know. I'll finish the second episode later. We'll see if I learn anything new.
I might check it out. At some point, but not imminently because I'm just kind of tired of the whole. Remember this happened in the 90s again. Even before Dark Side of the Ring came out, we had plenty of Monday Night War content to go through. From so many different platforms, so we'll see about it. But
DDP's in there too, but he's not stalking the Undertaker, thankfully.
Speaking of DDP, let's transition to the worst match of the night, which I know this isn't technically a match, but it happened in the ring, and it happened throughout the night. So damn it, it's got to go somewhere. Okay, because it's not going to be my top.
It's not your hidden gem.
It's definitely not my hidden gem. It's not going to be my top non-wrestling happening. It's not going to just be my random thoughts. It's going to be right here because it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is easily the DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, Undertaker, Stalker storyline because it was so atrocious and such a misuse of resources. It's wow, it was bad at the time. As a 12-year-old, I was uncomfortable because I knew who DDP was. It's not like
Right.
we're that far removed from WCW. I knew Diamond Dallas Page was the man in WCW. He had the diamond cutter. People liked him. He was known as the People's Champ in WCW. And I also can't forget, I watched Ready to Rumble. DDP as a heel wasn't that exciting for me. So, so nobody wanted DDP as a heel. Not only is he a heel, he's a stalker. Which what? Where's the entertainment value in that? And then we get DDP film. Well, at the time when it first started being on television, we didn't know who it was. But it's a guy with a modulated voice with blurry footage, like it's an episode of Cheaters, following around Sarah, which is Undertaker's, I believe, wife at the time.
He was.
Remember, Undertaker used to have the Sarah tattoo on his neck, which is not there anymore. Doesn't say Michelle neither, but I guess he learned his lesson. No more tattoos on the neck. But and this Michelle is a couple more letters, and that probably hurts. 4 letters is probably the max that he could do. But this was just garbage. This is a sin that I will never forgive Vince McMahon for. He's committed quite a few. Okay, but this is one of the many, at least from a wrestling creative standpoint.
Yes,
is one that I will never get over this. I'm sorry, because it was absolutely no reason for this. We watched WCW. We saw the popularity of DDP. How do you see DDP and not only make him a heel, which would already be like, I think that's a misstep. But at least if he was a heel and still Diamond Dallas Page that we knew and loved, I could get into it potentially. But not only is he a heel, he's a stalker, bro. It's horrible. They showed a video package throughout the night of DDP, or at least they showed a video package of DDP stalking Sarah. It's pretty terrible. Like, even though I know it's not real, I know it's wrestling storylines, I still felt uncomfortable watching that footage. I'm sorry, even though she was in on it.
I don't know how she was the one doing the stalking later. It's still uncomfortable.
It's hella uncomfortable. Why would we cheer for the stalker, for somebody to turn the tables? Oh, now they stalking. Might have to turn tabled. That's not cool neither. It just it's such real rotten stuff. It just gave me an uneasy feeling, which I guess was the intention, obviously, but I think it worked a little too well. Okay, and again,
you could have done it, could have done the angle, but DDP is not the guy to do it with.
I don't think you should do the angle, period. I don't think you should do a stalker, not the stalker.
In wrestling, I could see it happening, but if you're gonna do it, obviously I would rather not see that. But if you were gonna do it, DDP was not the guy to do it. It should have been somebody else from WCW, maybe, if they wanted.
Maybe
he's saying, "Make me famous." Dude, you are famous. Like, you are a known wrestler. People know you. The WWF audience knows you. Everybody
Ready to Rumble, bro. You started more movies than The Undertaker has. He was with David Arquette in a movie.
Undertaker was in what? Suburban Commando? That was it.
Nobody knew who he was. There's a big guy with a mullet. Who he was. Yeah,
it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense with the whole, like, you got to make a name for yourself. It's like, you already made a name for yourself. It didn't make sense. And that was part of me, like, is Vince really going to do this to all the WCW guys? Because it's like already downplaying their success just because they were WCW guys. Like, it really annoyed me. And on the message boards at the time, I'm pretty sure it annoyed people. There are people that loved it because they're like, yeah, WCW sucks. This is your DDP type thing. And I'm like, no, this is not their WCW DDP. It literally is not. You're already making like a joke out of them. I was annoyed by it.
It's just another example of Vince McMahon seeing a ready-made product that wasn't his creation, and he saw as less than because it wasn't his creation, and he like, how can I make this better? It's always, how can I make it better in my vision, what I like? And I guess he was probably looking for a stalker character anyway.
Where's Barry Windham? You already had
bring in the stalker. Have him put the camouflage on his face again. I don't know. He did have camo on his face, which is, now that I think about it, it's pretty wild. He's the stalker with camel paint. They got him hiding in bushes. What's going on, bro?
For his vignettes too. It's like, wait, how do they find you if you're hiding in bushes? Like for these
Bro,
vignettes, what's happening?
just stalking is just not good. Obviously, it's people get stalked every day, and it's not great, and it can end it terribly. There are people. It's not
Yeah.
good. It's not something I don't think people would want to watch on television. I don't think it's entertaining for people. It's
No.
because you're always thinking about who's watching you, who's watching me. And I guess again, that's the intention, right? To make people feel uncomfortable. But this is not the type of comfort. And it's just like it just felt like
Right.
Vince was already spinning his wheels creatively. If you're resorting to this, when you just had the hottest product, why are you resorting to
Yeah.
this of all things with the Undertaker and DDP? And then again, like you said earlier, Sarah turns the tables on DDP by stalking him throughout the day, showing him drinking his tea and checking into the building. While DDP, again, let me rewind a little bit from that too. DDP comes out with his very DDP theme song. I'm ready to say bang. And it's like, no, he's a stalker. I can't cheer for him.
And the way WWF-ized all the WCW themes, like Ric Flair had to have the woo in the beginning. DDP had to have the it's me, it's DDP. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
they do the same thing now with the theme songs.
I know,
it's pretty tough. I don't like it now neither. But he comes out and he challenges the Undertaker, not to a match, just to a confrontation, to a fight. And he waits in the front row all night.
Undertaker looks like a coward. I'm not gonna lie. You just let him sit there for half the show.
Or he was telling his wife to stalk DDP so they can get in his head.
Which
I
was
don't
also
know.
stupid because, like, okay, the stalker doesn't like becoming the stalky. Oh, big deal. Nobody cares. Nobody really cared about this either way.
Also, the last clip they showed of Sarah stalking DDP, and when she turns the camera on herself, she wasn't exactly hiding. Like it wasn't like I think DDP would have saw her. She's a very attractive
was
woman
so
just standing there with a
oblivious.
camera.
Yeah.
I think he would have
Well,
spotted her.
she's supposed to be hiding behind the truck, in the parking lot, hiding behind trash cans, I guess, in the entrance area. She's just, maybe DDP is just too oblivious. No, like he can stalk, but he knows he's not being stalked. So why would he care about his surroundings?
It was horrible. And then they played up like DDP could be the first WCW guy in Madison Square Garden, which is like, how does that matter here? For one, what does that have to do with this?
I remember thinking like, why does Paul Heyman? That was Paul Heyman, right? Saying that.
I think so. Yeah, because he was so concerned about it.
The first time was like, oh my god, they're like, what a goof. I remember thinking like, Paul Heyman's such a goof. There are people that like JR and Paul Heyman together on commentary, saying they were better than JR Lawler. I'm not there. Like they weren't bad, but there's just things like this that made it just stupid. Like would Lawler have said the same thing? Maybe, but this is like Paul Heyman was kind of goofy on commentary a little bit before the invasion angle actually started. So this is one of those moments where I just be like, what the hell is Paul talking about?
Maybe that was Vince in his ear saying dumb things didn't make sense.
Well, no, he wasn't there, so it couldn't have been, right?
Well, maybe. Allegedly. Where do we go from here with this? Because there's nothing entertaining about this. I mean, eventually,
where is the Undertaker? Where is he at? He's
eventually we get the Undertaker, who calmly walks to the ring, pits on his gloves slowly.
Why?
Calmly.
By the way, why? Wouldn't bare knuckles do more damage than?
Yeah, but you don't want to hurt your own hand.
He's fine.
So you put some, they're only like 10-ounce gloves, something like that. So, but you don't want to hurt your own hand because punch people in the face, hitting a skull.
Well, I mean, he's stalking your wife. Wouldn't you want to end him?
Yeah, but
regardless of your hands,
you could knock him out and protect your hand at the same time. So, I guess that's what he was thinking. Either way, he predictably punches on DDP for a long time, just pummels him. I mean, DDP never had a chance. It's like Vince went out of his way to kill whatever credibility WCW had, and then wondered why no one cared for the angle after the Invasion pay-per-view. Why is nobody watching these guys that I told you sucked? I told you DDP was garbage the night at the King of the Ring when Undertaker beat him from one side of the arena to the next, while his wife was holding a camera going, "World Star." Like, what made DDP?
Why was she holding the camera anyway? For effect, like it's literally there's WWF cameras around. Everyone's watching.
They needed their own giant camcorder RCA type deal. with blurry footage to to get it looking like Shaq at the dunk contest in 2000, which is only the year before. So they probably had the same camera for all I know. They had a lens cap and everything. But yeah, eventually DDP gets tired of getting beat up and he ran away. And it was a waste of everyone's time, including DDP and The Undertaker and Sarah. Everybody.
Yeah. Us,
I feel like
the
only person that was entertained by this was Vince. I don't know who else this was for. Who gained enjoyment out of this? Just the DDP aspect alone is like infuriating. And then you got the stalker. It's just, man, it's just weird stuff. So I don't know if you had in this category as far as worst match, but this is mine. And I don't care if it's not a real match.
It would have been if the bell rang, but yeah, mine's an actual match, the worst match.
Fair enough. I'm breaking the rules already on the second show of this new format. I don't care.
And it's certainly not my top non-in-ring happening, even though it happened in the ring. Definitely not my hidden gem. So I'll put it on random thoughts. Just, everything I've said and you've said. Just who was this for? It wasn't like, I know DDP and Canyon would eventually like feud with the Undertaker, Kane, and it was still like a feud, but I think after what happened at King of the Ring, like nobody took anything DDP did seriously. Plus he was hurt, like he had like a neck issue going on, so he probably couldn't do much, and he was very limited. So I mean, why are you doing this? Like the whole why wouldn't you? And the whole way they made WWF the baby faces in this invasion storyline, WCW and ECW the heels, just that's not how it was in real life either.
And a prime example of that is the Shane and Kurt Angle match. Something else I didn't mention. Again,
right.
One of his many flaws is that Shane McMahon is the owner of WCW, yet he's the babyface in this story. Not just to the fans. The fans are cheering for Shane, but pretty much his storyline too. Like within the realm of the story, he's the babyface here because he's fighting uphill against Kurt Angle, who's not a nice guy. Even within the WWF world, he's a heel. So it's just that they lost the plot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and obviously nobody booed Rob Van Dam when he came. I mean, like he was one of the people that everyone cheered for. So
just impossible to boo Rob Van Dam.
And they didn't have any top WCW's star power, so they had to turn Austin heel again. They turned a babyface after this, and then turned him heel in Invasion. It's like
horrible.
It's just
Kurt Angle with babyface.
Right. Two months from now, Kurt Angle was facing Austin in the main event as an Angle was a babyface.
And it beats him the next month in his hometown, and like they shoot fireworks off for him, and he's on like people's shoulders holding the belt up. Like Kurt Angle's a conquering hero.
What is going on with this
story? What is going on?
Crazy. Literally just 2.5 months later. It's just so
bizarre
funny
stuff.
How, and they had SmackDown too. So it was Raw and SmackDown pushing this story weekly, and it almost felt like too much. It's like, I don't want your Invasion storyline anymore. I was really hyped for this for a little bit because who wouldn't be? You didn't think this was going to happen. So you get it now. You have WCW and ECW guys on WWF TV, and you're telling a story like, yeah, they might not be the top WCW and ECW. Well, they were the top ECW guys, but maybe not top WCW guys.
Bob 2001, there weren't. You're right. Taz was cooked. The Dudley Boys were
Dudley's Raven.
Rhino was
incredible. Was there.
Right. Rhino was there. Rob Van Dam hadn't gotten there yet, so he was the top ECW guy, really. But
like it's like, take your Invasion angle away, please. Like, I don't want it anymore. I've had enough of it. So I mean, my worst match, technically my worst match would be Jeff and X-Pac. I didn't think it was a terrible match, but if a lot of the matches were good, if I had to pick a worse one, it'd be that one. It was short. X-Pac wound up winning the light heavyweight title the next night. So I don't know what the hell they were doing on this show. Just kind of lost in the shuffle. Even it was between that and the tag title match. But the tag title match at least, entertained me a little bit with Spike Dudley, but not Eskin, Spike Dudley. And
man, we haven't talked about that at all today.
We have not.
We don't have to.
Yeah, that Jeff and X-Pac Hardy would be my worst match of the night. Although I didn't think it was a bad match, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I had that as like a hidden gem. The Jeff, not my top hidden gem is another match, but I was like an honorable mention for that. That was a decent little match, but I couldn't put a match in this. I couldn't put other matches in this category just because of how bad this was. But let's move on to top non-wrestling happening. What do you have for this category, Nick?
Stone Cold looking for Vince was very funny to me.
Yes.
I enjoyed that thoroughly. And maybe it was just because it offset the terrible DDP Undertaker thing going on.
We needed something as a palate cleanser to lighten the mood.
Exactly. And this was when Austin was really dependent on Vince, and almost like Vince was like, okay, like enough. Like he was clingy to Vince. And I thought that was funny in the looking back, obviously not. But in this specific show, I thought it was funny, and Vince just be like, you're on your own, whatever. It just getting tired of Austin, but Austin like still dependent on him was funny to me, and it made me laugh. And I think that's all I could have asked for this show, to have something that entertained me like that. Asking the guy outside with the big glasses and everything, like as you see Vince, and just the conversations he would have with people talking to Vince on the phone.
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, it just made me laugh.
Conversation. So the first thing is that Steve Austin it's pretty weird that Steve Austin's in this position. It's still kind of weird, even though it's kind of funny. Yeah. But it's still like, what world are we living in? It is the same weird company where Steve Austin was just like the guy, and he was the rebel, and he was the hero, and now he's like crying after Vince and being like, Vince, where you at, baby? I need you. You gotta come help me quick. It's like, this is weird. Like, and you wonder why. Again, Vince wondered why people started not watching the show. People turned away from the show. It's because Steve Austin's on the show going, Vince, where you at, baby? I need your help. I need you to come right away. Please, Vince, please. You got to come. Like, who wanted to watch that? Who wanted to watch Steve Austin do that? Nobody. Yeah. But despite that, my top 9 wrestling happening is the specific scene of Steve Austin in William Regal's office using his rotary phone because he could not get service on his cell phone. He couldn't get reception. So he has to dial the number on the rotary phone to get in touch with Vince. I did think that was pretty funny. Just in a vacuum.
Yes.
That was pretty funny. But it's still weird. It's still bizarre. But that one particular scene was pretty good to me. Any hidden gems in or out of the ring? We can go both ways with this.
Okay, in or out. Hidden gem. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to find one in this show. I guess I could have put Dawson stuff in under hidden gem, but not. There wasn't anything like Edge winning the King of the Ring didn't matter, but I thought it was kind of funny. Like Christian, obviously planting the seeds, like he was the King of the Ring. But I will say, kind of something that took me by surprise during the Edge Rhino match was when they both went for, Edge went for the spear, Rhino went for the door. And I kind of like, it looked pretty good. Like they did that very well. And it was a better match than had any right to be, especially for like a semifinal that literally nobody thought Rhino was winning. But that spot specifically, like I didn't expect it. So I was like, oh, snap. Like,
yeah, that was cool.
That was good. Very well done. I'll go with that because it was the only moment. Obviously, the Kurt Shane match had a lot of gems that I could speak of, but that particular spot in the Edge Rhino match, the one thing that got me to go, oh, snap, and rather than like any other match, didn't have that moment for me other than the Kurt Shane match. So that'll be my hidden gem.
That's fair. That's fair. I would go with Kurt Angle versus Edge. And I put a question mark after because, like you said, it was a tough find on this show as far as like, oh, this is like Judgment Day 2002 was like perfect for this format. We had a great match of the show, the best match of the show, great hidden gem, top non-wrestling stuff with Booker T. That was great. This show is a little tougher, and we're still gonna fight through it. Don't worry. But Kurt Angle versus Edge, King of the Ring final. I did like Kurt Angle trying to get Edge to forfeit and saying like, look, I got another match. And you just save yourself the embarrassment.
That was great.
And forfeit and make me King of the Ring so I can save myself. And Edge obviously didn't go for it and eventually beat Kurt Angle to become the King of the Ring and eventually be handed a Stanley Cup. Christian attempts to interfere, doesn't work. Shane McMahon actually does, again, helps Edge to win and makes Kurt Angle really upset. But let's move on to random thoughts from this show. Another match that we went through all of those different categories and did not mention the main event. It's the second show in a row.
Exactly.
And the main event is, of course, for the WWF Championship. It's Steve Austin, who is just eagerly awaiting Vince's presence, which never occurred. But he's defending his title in a triple threat match against Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit, as Jericho would call him back in the day. But the match was fine. Austin was a wild dude, like we just mentioned, but nothing really to write home about outside of Booker T showing up and dropping Austin through the table at the end of the match, which still didn't cost Steve Austin the match somehow.
Right.
But in the midst of that happening, Austin was legit hurt. Like, he really hurt his back really bad from that. And, obviously that sucks. Austin's champ. Booker T is really new. So hurting the champion on pretty much your first night, and this is Booker T's debut in WWF, outside of the match they had with Buff Bagwell on Raw, right?
That was after
this?
Yep.
So this is his very first night.
WWF appearance, yeah.
WWF appearance, and he injures Steve Austin. So obviously people are like, oh man, that's tough. And apparently, according to Booker T, that somebody suggested to him that he help carry Steve Austin's bags into the hotel or something like that as a make good. And it's like, and Booker T rightfully was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'll call him, wish him good luck, but I'm not carrying his bags. Who thought to ask this black man to carry this white person's bags? Yeah, again, Booker T rightfully declined. So to me, that's probably the most interesting thing to come out of this match. It's really the postscript of Austin getting hurt and Booker T having this happen on his first night in the promotion.
Yeah, it was rough. You could see Austin struggling after that, even walking back. I don't think he was selling anything. Like, the very anticlimactic ending. It's a shame, Again, we don't want to build up Benoit, but he hurt his neck on that. He came into the match with neck issues, but that just made it worse. The superplex to Jericho off the top rope, and then Austin, him kind of like Jericho had to kind of sell that for a long time because Austin crawled into the ring and then eventually pinned Benoit. And you see the crowd just kind of being like, that was the ending? Like, what the hell? That was part of why I didn't like this show, because the anticlimacticness of the ending, to no fault of the performers that got hurt, but still, it's anticlimactic. And not that I thought Austin was going to lose, but like, it was a lot of guys just sitting around for a minute or two, and then you have the 3 count, which is kind of like, what? But honestly, the match should have ended before that, because let's turn the clock back a little bit.
Okay.
To 1998.
Oh, we're going back.
We're going down to September 1998. WWF's Breakdown in Your House. What was the main event? You remember that? Stone Cold Steve Austin defending his championship in a triple threat match
against Undertaker and Kane.
How did he lose that match?
Didn't both guys pin him or something like that?
Pin him at the same time. Who was the referee in that match?
I'm assuming Earl Hebner.
Earl Hebner.
Baby Earl.
What happened during this match with Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit?
They had them both in a submission. Jericho had him in the walls. Benoit had him in the crossface.
And he was tapping out, right?
And the ref. Oh, I
Who
forgot
was the
about
ref?
that. Earl Hebner just said, "Nope, the match isn't over.
What the hell?
You can't win that way." And it's like, wait a second, hold up.
You're trying to. Do you agree Earl Hebner sucks now?
Look, that was terrible. That was a
robo refs in wrestling. We need robo refs.
Horrible creative decision by WWE to do that. It just was like, it's confusing. Yeah, to have him tap out, the match should end. So at least he should lose the title, even if you don't award it to one person over the other. He should at least lose the title. Instead, it's like, no, that just can't happen. We wasn't prepared for that. Even though he had already tapped to both of their finishes before this night. So it wasn't like that's something that they saw that they never saw before. This was clearly a possibility. You would think that they can have a resolution to that potential issue. Nope. Said, so yeah, you did your job, but should be only one of y'all, can't be both of y'all. So pick. choose one. Okay, bye.
He was, so was he afraid? The same thing to Kane and the Undertaker. You know, he counted the pin in September 1998 when they both pinned Austin.
Just why do it if it doesn't?
Come on,
make
man.
any
Where's
sense?
the continuity? Where's the continuity? Did Earl learn his lesson? Like, oh, I can't end a match like that. Hell no, he didn't learn his lesson because he sinks at his job.
Oh man, yeah, that was terrible. That was really bad. Also really bad, or really just unnecessary, was the rumor that was spread throughout the show of Chris Jericho or Benoit jumping ship if they won the WWF Championship. They would defect to WCW. Not only would they defect to WCW, they would do so in Madison Square Garden. Oh, where are the pearls so I can clutch them?
WCW didn't have a show by this point, by the way. Like, not Shane McMahon's WCW. There was just like, I remember not caring. Like, okay, what are they going to defect to?
Right.
SmackDown under the WCW banner? Like, there
Where
was
they
no
going?
show WCW had at this point.
Where are they going? And it's still going to be on Raw the next week. So I don't give a damn. They defect. What does that mean? How damaging?
And then,
then,
what
yeah,
was it, Taz interviewing them? What did he interview both Benoit and
I think
Jericho? I know he
so.
interviewed Jericho,
I
and
do
Jericho
remember-
all did the act like he was going to answer the question,
Right.
but then trailed off.
I
take
did
his
love
own pick.
Coach telling Austin about the rumor, and Austin just
Yeah.
standing there speechless. He had no words for this.
But
He's just like,
but-
oh dear God. And it's like, why does Austin care so much? Obviously, he doesn't want to lose his title, but why does he care about the WCW aspect of this? Or was he like,
just want to let Vince down?
or he was like, oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I might do the same thing. You know what? WCW, they might have it going on right now. That's they might not do it, but I might. Hold on. That's a good idea. Let me keep that for later. That's the only thing I got out of it. I don't know. He just stood there.
Well, I
was
mean,
like,
that's
"Oh my
exactly what
God."
happened a month later. So he's
That's the only
probably
thing I
didn't
got
think
from
of it,
this.
and that's why he was speechless. Be like, why didn't I think of that?
Right. Oh man. That's a really good idea.
And it's
I
just
might
so
have to-
funny because he's standing there for like 10 seconds. Coach has the microphone in his face, and they just cut to the outside of the Continental Airlines Arena, do one of those cut, and it's not
Terrible.
like
The
what?
timing, the timing of these segments are just weird. And that's another random thought I had. It's just so many backstage segments. And it's like they
Yeah.
just legit
Yeah.
ran out of ideas and forgot that this was not TV. This is pay-per-view.
Mhm.
So let's keep it moving. Let's keep the in-ring action going on pay-per-view. Or if you do a promo, do it in the ring. Stop with all the backstage stuff. This is pay-per-view. I paid for this. I don't need storyline advancement. I saw that on Raw and SmackDown. Give me the matches now. Also, like you mentioned, the tag title match earlier. That was the Dudley Boys defending against Spike Dudley and a partner of his choosing that eventually turned out to be Kane. That's gotta be Kane. Glenn Jacobs, who's all over the place now, but he was Spike's buddy on this night. During that match, Devon Dudley didn't interrupt the count in time, and the referee, I believe, counted to 3, or he either stopped the count and the fans started booing, so that wasn't great. And then lastly, my last note is that Billy Gunn, poor Billy Gunn,
Oh man,
was not on the card, but he was working that night. He was in New York, just a couple minutes away at WWF New York, which only means that WWF had nothing for him at the time, even though he was the one, Billy Gunn. And he pretty much cut a shoot promo talking about how frustrated he was that he wasn't even in the building. And I don't blame him because it wasn't like they had a ton of other great things going on the show. So
what is the point? It seemed like every time they go to WWF New York, the people are miserable to be there because they're not at the pay-per-view location, like wrestlers. I mean, like, so why do you keep doing that? Like, are you trying to put in the thought that, oh, that's a happening place to be during WWF events, but even though the talent hates being here because they're not where the pay-per-view is,
right, they're
you
not
know,
making the money on this night.
I just don't understand why you would think that's a good idea.
Like, do they get a cut of? Do they get a pay-per-view check despite
mean,
appearing
they
appearing
should.
on in the arena? They appeared on the show.
They did.
So, like, do they still get a pay-per-view check? If that's the case, okay, maybe. But like, if you don't get a pay-per-view check, I also understand how you're doubly
But
mad.
then say that because even if you're like shooting or not shooting, like why the viewer at home would think, wow, they're like really pissed that they're not there. So why are you sending them to WWF New York to air this segment when they're not happy that they're not at the pay-per-view? It seemed like backwards thinking to me. I don't understand that. Like, you're highlighting a wrestler who's pissed off he's not at the show. Like, why are we doing that? It doesn't make me think any better of them or any less. Like, I just didn't understand it because he was literally pissed. I mean, if he was acting, that was a good acting job, but he was pissed. So why are you highlighting that he's pissed? Like, that he's at WWF New York? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either, but Billy Gunn didn't understand it, which is why
If he
like,
said,
"What's going on?"
At least I'm getting a check, like, then okay. Like,
All
he
right.
kind of. I don't even think he was a babyface or a heel at that time. I don't even remember what he was doing before Billy and Chuck. While he was the one Billy Gunn, he was like teaming with China at some point, but then she left by this point.
He was the one Billy Gunn. That's it.
But doing what?
That's it. Who knows? That's why he did nothing. That's why he was at WWF New York by June 2001.
He's a former King of the Ring. You had mentioned it.
Look,
hell
if I know. But what you got? Any other random thoughts before you kind of wrap it up here?
Yeah, just not. I didn't like it, and it's you could obviously 20 plus years in the future, we know what happens literally a month or two after this. But man, what a bad omen this show was for the rest of the year, really, for WWE. I guess till December, when Jericho became the undisputed champion. We went a whole the Alliance versus WWF angle felt a lot longer, I think, than it actually was. I mean, you could say it started in July. It only went to November, but it definitely feels a lot longer than that, or felt a lot longer than that. So as time goes on, we're going to dive into those 2001 shows and kind of wonder what the hell were they thinking. And this show is definitely the starting point of that.
We haven't done the Invasion yet. We've done, I think, SummerSlam, and we haven't done WrestleMania yet from 2001, which is right. I don't think we've done WrestleMania 17 yet as a deep dive, right? I don't recall because I feel like I haven't watched that show recently. It's been a while since I've watched that show all the way through. I could be wrong. I may have forgotten already, but
let me check the handy dandy spreadsheet.
Yeah, it feels like we still have a lot of 2001 to go through. And yeah,
we did not.
It's not going to be fun.
We did not do 17 yet.
Okay, it's not going to be fun. So
we did 18. So that's probably what we were close, but we did 18, not 17. So.
Okay, well,
that's episode 321 in our archives. If y'all out there want to go listen to it,
go check it out. Any other random thoughts on this show before we wrap it up for episode 396?
I'm glad that it ended.
That's a good random thought there. Yeah, this was sorry, Chris Johnston. This was not my cup of tea. It just felt like WWF was spinning their wheels. It felt like it just didn't feel like a lively product at the time, and it's coming off the heels of like the liveliest time, 2000, 2001, early 2001, which was some of the best stuff at least the best times they've had. And the product never had any more juice than what they did in like 2000. And then to come to this, and it's like, where did all that energy go? Where did that sense of urgency go? Where did that vibrancy go? It just felt kind of stale.
I don't remember if many of us knew they weren't getting guys like Sting, Nash, Hall, Hogan yet. I think some of us weren't privy to, they're just sitting at home, waiting until the contract runs out. And if we were, we'd be like, they wouldn't wait that long. They want to be part of this hot time in wrestling. Like, they'll come back. That might have been me at the time. So not seeing them, very, very bad. In turn, like, if Booker T is your big WCW debut, it's just not enough. DDP wasn't really. I mean, he came before. I don't really think he was looked as a WCW guy at this point, because
DDP?
like He wasn't part of Shane McMahon's WCW, I don't think, until later.
I'm pretty sure he was on Team Alliance in the Invasion.
He was, but
match.
not yet. I'm saying like when he debuted.
No, he wasn't a part of like Shane
thing.
McMahon's crew, right?
Yeah, like Shane McMahon's WCW. Like I think Booker T was really like the first guy to be like Shane McMahon's WCW. So DDP wasn't, that guy yet. So yeah, like I guess you could say he was not even WCW's biggest guy that came over at this point. So I'm sitting here waiting for guys like Hogan, Hall, Nash, Sting, Goldberg to come over, be part of this Invasion storyline, and it's when you're not getting that, it's tough, man.
It's
You
real
can
tough.
only you can't. That's why I think they brought ECW back. Obviously, Paul Heyman had a part in that, convincing Vince, but that's probably why you needed that.
You honestly didn't have DDP. They just destroyed that right away. You lose Benoit, you lose Triple H, so that hurts. I'm sure that they could have put Benoit or somebody, maybe put him in WCW or something like that. Even though he left WCW, there's no Eddie Guerrero, there's no Dean Malenko's not being used. So none of the Radicals are really here. Because at this time Eddie Guerrero was fired, right, in 2001. So it was just shorthanded from the beginning. They had more ECW guys than WCW guys, but the WCW guys were the bigger names. They're the bigger stars. So, yep, doomed stuff happened in 2001.
Follow me at _Picone on Twitter and TikTok. Follow me at Picone Nick on Threads and at Picone on Blue Sky. You can follow us at Shooters Radio on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and we're at shootersradio.com and shooterspod.com. You can check me out at crossingbroad.com as well.
All right. I am at Vaughn M. Johnson on X, at Vaughn Johnson 166 on IG, at Vaughn Johnson on Blue Sky and Threads. You can check me out there. I think I'm on actually at Vaughn Johnson 166 on Blue Sky too. No, on Blue Sky on Threads as well. But you can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/shootersradio, where you can request a future deep dive just like this one. And when you do, you can make a cameo on the show that we're diving deep into. Once again, patreon.com/shootersradio.
I'm going to scrutinize you to the fullest, pasteurize you, homogenize you, and synchronize you back into morality.